Our first lesson is going to be about using the calculator. So we are going to just talk about different buttons that we're going to use a lot in the calculator to help us with our math. So the first thing is to turn on the calculator. Oh, and by the way, we are going to put this on the first page in our notebook. That way we know where it is. And we can add to it if we need to as we go along. So this is our student calculator guide. And again, to turn on the calculator, we will push the on button, okay? So turn on, we will push the on button. To turn off the calculator, if you see off, if you notice off is written above the on button in blue. Anytime you see something in blue, you can push the blue button, the blue second button, and then whatever the button is, and it will do what it told you to. So to turn off the calculator, you push the blue second button, and then again, you push the on button, which is kind of funny. You're pushing on to turn it off. Okay, and then sometimes something happens in our calculator where it is not doing what we want it to do. Or for instance, if I'm in my table, if I push the clear button, the delete button, I cannot get out of this screen. If you do not know how or do not remember how, you can easily reset the calculator and it will take you to the home screen. So the buttons to push for resetting are second, plus, 7, 1, 2. Okay? So if I push second plus 7, 1, 2, you should see RAM cleared on your screen. And then if you push enter or some other button, you'll see you're back to the home screen. It's nice and clean and cleared off. Okay, so now let's talk about integers and operations. So we have over here our 4 operation buttons: division, multiplication, subtraction, and addition. And when we are using those buttons, we can push the enter button. That's the same as equals. Okay, that'll tell us what those are equal to. And then we have this special button here that sometimes gets forgotten about and causes problems. Okay, this is our negative button. So if you have a negative number, you have to press this button. You cannot press the subtraction button for a negative. So let's write that in our notes. Subtract is the subtract button with just a minus sign. And negative is the button that has the minus sign in parentheses, okay? So that's used for negative numbers. So for instance, if I want to find 5 minus 3, I will go in my calculator and I will press 5, the regular subtract button, and 3. Enter will give me the answer and I get 2. But if I want 5 minus a negative 3, I will have to then use my negative button. So I will press 5 minus, and I like to use parentheses around my negative numbers, -3, and then I press enter, and I get 8. Okay, so you use the subtract button here, the negative button here. Sometimes you will use both. Okay, let's move on to fractions. To enter a fraction in the calculator, you will use a green button that says alpha on it, and you will use the y equals button. And enter for 1 usually, okay? So for instance, if I would like to add 2/5 plus 2/5, this is how I would put that in the calculator. So I'm going to start with alpha y equals. So again, the green alpha button, and then the y equals button is up here at the top left. Sometimes the y equals gets scraped off of our calculators. And what you will see if you look at your screen is we have choices. Number 2 is for a mixed number. 3 is to change an improper fraction to a mixed number, or vice versa. 4 is go from fraction to decimal. And then the first one is a fraction, a regular fraction like we have. So we're going to enter 2/5, arrow over. We are adding these, so we put plus. And then we need to put our other fraction, so we're going to do alpha y equals again. And we're going to add the 2/5. Okay, enter. And I get 4/5 as my answer. If we wanted to divide two fractions, again, press the green alpha button, y equals 2/5 again, down 5. Don't forget to arrow over, push the division button, and then we'll do it again, alpha y equals 2/5. And what do I get? I get 1. Okay, so now this leads me to our next topic, which is turning a fraction into a decimal. We can do that 2 ways. We can either use the alpha y equals, and then if you recall, alpha y equals, and then down here I told you number 4 was F and D, so it goes back and forth from fraction to decimal. So we can use that. We would use 4. Or you can strictly divide, okay? So let's take a look at that. So I already have my alpha y equals. I'm going to take this 4/5, and I'm going to turn 4/5 into a decimal. So I already have my alpha y equals in. I'm going to pick 4 for fraction to decimal. And oops, I didn't put my fraction in. I'm so sorry. Let's back up. So first of all, you put your type in fraction. So I'm going to type in my fraction, alpha y equals, enter. And I have 4/5 here, so 4/5. And then I'm going to go back to alpha, y equals again, and this time remember, fraction to decimal is the 4 button, number 4. So you can see in my calculator I have 4/5, and then it says fraction to decimal. So I press enter, and it gives me the decimal of 0.8. A simpler way is to just simply remember that division or fractions are division. So we have 4 divided by 5, and I get 0.8 again. Now, to go from a decimal to a fraction, okay? So the other way, if I'm going to go 0.8, if I give you 0.8 and I ask you what that is as a fraction, then we can use that alpha y equals again. So we use the same thing. We're going to type in our decimal though. And then we press alpha. And then we press y equals. And then we press 4 again. Okay, so let's try that. I have 0.8. And then I'm going to go to alpha, y equals 4. And you can see 0.8 turning into a fraction. And it gives me 4/5. Okay, got to turn the page. Okay, we're talking about exponents now. Exponents first. So exponents in the calculator. All right. If you want to square something, you can push the x squared button. Any other power, you can use the caret button, okay? It's like an upside down V or an arrow pointing up. Now you can square anything also using the caret button. So you can use this one all the time. You can use this one for x squared. So let's take a look at that. If I do 5 squared, then I can go to my calculator and I can push 5, and then the x squared button is right here, x squared. So it says 5 squared, just like on my paper. I press enter, and I get 25. I know some of you remember that 5 squared is 5 times 5. So you can do 5 times 5, right? And still get the answer. But what if I gave you 5 to the 10th power? That's a lot of buttons to push, right? So instead, I can do 5, and then I can press my caret button, which is over here. Right here is our caret button. And then I can put whatever number I need in there. So 5 to the 10th power is 9,765,625. Now, the other part of the square root would be to, or the exponent would be to take the square root. Okay, so to take the square root, which is again the opposite of squaring something, if you look at your calculator at the x squared button, what do you see above it? The square root symbol. So again, a reminder, you press the blue second button and then the x squared button. So let's write that in our notes. To take the square root, we're going to press the blue second button, and then we will press the x squared button. Okay? So if I want to take the square root of 64, I will push the second button, the x squared button, and you'll see the square root symbol pop up on your screen. So I want the square root of 64, and that gives me 8. Let's try that again. What is the square root of 27? So the blue second button, the x squared button, and then I'm going to type 27. 27 is not a perfect square, so I'm going to round to the hundredths. That 6 is going to make the 9 go up to 10, so that's going to be 5.20.